Have you ever eaten bread so stale it could break your teeth, or meat that tasted like metal? That's what soldiers had to live on whilst the cruel war. But wait, there's a whole lot more where that came from. It all started with the infamous hardtack. I'd like to call this one the jawbreaker, because, well, that's literally what it does. Hardtack was basically a rock disguised as bread. It was prepared with flour, water, and maybe a shy pinch of salt if the cook was feeling merciful. Shaped like a square biscuit, it was so hard to bite through that soldiers often needed to soak it in water, tea, or even whiskey, if fortune allowed them to gather some to avoid breaking their teeth. A British private once complained in his diary that the biscuit was hard enough to stop a bullet, and honestly, he wasn't exaggerating. Sometimes, just to take festivity up a notch, worms wriggled out of the cracks. Did that stop the starved soldiers? Of course not. Starvation swallows pride and disgust alike. They called it bonus protein, chewed through the rot and moved on. It wasn't just food, it was an unspoken enemy, eroding teeth and morale one bite at a time. And yet, compared to the hellfire raining above their heads, maybe a mouthful of stone bread seemed almost something they could shoulder. But hardtack was just the appetizer to trench suffering. The main course, bully beef, yes, canned corned beef, shoved into tins, then shoved into soldiers' bellies. Imagine surviving on greasy, salty bricks of pinkish meat every single day for months without escape. Soldiers joked it came in two flavors, with gristle and with extra gristle. A few unlucky ones bit down and swore they could hear cartilage snapping. Some veterans swore after the war they'd never touch corned beef again, and they meant it. But why bully beef? Because it was cheap, easy to ship, and kept armies moving when bread failed. The Allies relied heavily on it, shipping thousands of tons across U-boat-infested seas. One soldier reportedly muttered he'd rather face the Kaiser than another tin. Honestly, same. Would you survive months of eating bully beef, or would you throw the tin straight into no man's land? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more weird foods. And when bully beef got too monotonous, in came trench stew, also known as culinary roulette. Picture a battered pot hanging over a smoky fire, filled with whatever scraps were lying around. Turnips, potatoes, onions, carrots, maybe a stolen chicken bone if someone's very lucky. The stew could be watery soup one day and thick sludge the next. Mud was its unofficial seasoning, and yes, you could actually taste it. Soldiers didn't complain. Complaining wasted energy. They just choked it down and called it dinner. One officer admitted the stew resembled battlefield mud more than nourishment, and he wasn't being poetic. But here's the cruel twist. Bread mattered more than flavor. It filled the stomach, which meant it was treasured. They laughed at their misfortune, as humans often do, because what else can you do when you're eating lumber? Enter Makanoki stew, a name that still sends shivers down veterans' spines. Officially, it was a canned mix of turnips, carrots, potatoes, onions, haricot beans, and beef in a thin broth. Unofficially, it was misery in a tin. Cold, it sat in quivering lumps, gelatinous and gray, sticking to the spoon like glue. Heated, it became marginally edible, though still tragic. A soldier named Calcutt claimed the Makanoki stew ration gave the troops flatulence of a particularly offensive nature. Soldiers said opening a tin was like unleashing a curse. One wrote that, warmed in the tin, Makanoki was edible. Cold, it was a man-killer. Think about that. Imagine preferring bombs to stew. That's how bad it was. But when desperation struck harder, the menu got darker. Pea soup with horse meat. By mid-war, Britain's supply lines strained under German U-boat blockades. Farms couldn't keep up, rationing began, and protein sources ran out. Horses, once noble companions, ended up in soup pots. French soldiers in particular grew accustomed to it. Thick with peas, chewy with horse chunks, it was grim but life-saving. Every spoonful reminded soldiers how war eats everything, even the animals once trusted to carry them forward. If horse meat sounds grim, oatmeal almost feels wholesome, except it wasn't. Forget fruit, sugar, or milk. This was grey paste, sticky and flavorless, dished out by the bucket. Some soldiers nicknamed it porridge of despair. It did, however, deliver calories, which meant energy, which meant survival. And in a war where energy often meant life or death, even glue-like porridge was precious. Still, after months of grey bowls, the very word oatmeal carried the weight of misery. But when oatmeal failed, there were the dreaded emergency rations, compressed survival bricks, beef, oatmeal, and fat squashed into brown slabs that soldiers were supposed to eat only in life or death situations. Naturally, hunger meant they cracked into them early. Eating one was like chewing punishment itself, dry, flavorless, and impossible without water. They felt less like rations and more like edible despair. Soldiers joked they weren't food at all. They were revenge from the generals. Soldiers weren't just suffering physically. They wrote home about the torment of their stomachs and the longing for normality. Lieutenant Bartlett, who served in Egypt and Gallipoli, rejoiced on the 9th of July 1915 in his diary. "Salmon for brekker, what joy my luck is really in today." But only 9 days later, stricken with dysentery, he scribbled, "Feeling rotten all day and existed on dried biscuits and tea." That swing from pleasure to despair sums up how food dictated moods, morale, and hope. Then there's the story of Lieutenant Bernard, a Royal Flying Corps officer, imprisoned at Groudon's POW camp. On 14th July 1918, he wrote longing letters home full of visions of meals: bacon and eggs, tomato ketchup, fruit, fried bread, things that sound trivial now, but for him they were ecstasy. Instead, he got black bread, 3 ounces, coffee. The contrast between officers and enlisted men wasn't always clear in rations on paper, but in these little luxuries and hopes, and what was possible behind the lines or via parcels, the gap showed. Even prisoners of war relied on food parcels as threads of human connection. British prisoners could expect relief parcels every fortnight, containing tins of beef, biscuits, tea, powdered milk, or cocoa. Many parcels never arrived, some got stolen. Still, for those who got them, they were lifelines. And there's also the emotional toll of monotony. One soldier in France, after weeks of nothing but bully beef and biscuits, wrote home, "Nothing but biscuits and bully to eat. I miss your cooking, the smell of your pancakes in the morning." Meals weren't just about eating, they were memory, longing, sanity. Finally, a shimmer of joy in this bleak buffet. Jam, raspberry, apple, plum, sweetness cut through salt and grease, turning dull meals into brief moments of pleasure. Soldiers were so overwhelmed with plum jam they sarcastically nicknamed the conflict the Plum and Apple War. Even so, jam meant a spoonful of hope, a reminder of normal life. Spread on sawdust bread or hardtack, it was a luxury compared to meat bricks and horse stew. And of course, the truest salvation of all, tea. Forget rifles and rations. Tea was the liquid soul of the British Army. Strong, hot, sweet if sugar was available. It kept men sane. They brewed it in mugs, pots, even helmets, anything that could hold boiling water. A single cup could reset morale in ways food never could. Soldiers called it liquid sanity, and they weren't wrong. If hardtack broke their teeth and bully beef broke their spirits, tea patched them back together long enough to keep going. And with that, we've come to the end of this horrid culinary adventure. Which of these did you hate the most? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on the tiny bell icon on the side to stay notified and updated on all of our upcoming content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.